Testing, 1, 2. Hey, we do have the food here. If someone would like to refresh yourselves, you can bring it inside the sanctuary. Please get it, because we bought it. And we don't want it to go to waste. So, especially for those who haven't had breakfast, there's some good eating in there, some fruit. So please get it. You can bring it right to your seat if you like.
If all the panelists could please make their way to the front table, please, as we're about to begin. If all the panelists could please make their way to the front table as we're about to begin. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. All right, glad to have a group of spirited people to come out this morning because this is the last hurrah, if you will, for the candidates to be able, as they wind up their elections, campaigns for election of office. With that, we're going to have a slight change in the program as Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears had a change in his schedule, so we will switch it up, but we will go with the flow and make sure that we continue on with the other panelists after Prosecutor Mears has left. On behalf of Community Church Indy, Pastor Antonio Lipscomb, my name is Kim Boyd, and I'm proud to be your moderator today for, again, what is probably one of the public's last opportunities to face, learn, ask questions of the candidates that are on this panel. So with that, we want to, as we get to the panelist part, I want to put out a few little ground rules. One is make sure if you formulate your questions in your mind as we get to the question and answer period of the panel, to please direct your question directly to the panelists, which it's intended for, and please limit your time as we want to try to get back on track from us being a little tardy from the marathon runners here in our city this morning, but God bless them as well. So with that, I would just like to introduce our panelists that we are blessed to have with us today. Most immediately, Representative Robin Shackelford, House District 98. She's a current elected official seeking re-election. And if you're not familiar with House District 98, that is primarily on the east side of Indianapolis, so we're glad to have her. A candidate that is seeking election as a first-time candidate, sitting next to her is Amber Collins, pardon my pronunciation, Gibber Hewitt? Gibber. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yes, thank you. And she is running for the office of Marion Circuit Court Judge, which if you want to know the definition of that, basically that is the definition where if elected, she would be over child support court, custodies, those type of venues in Indianapolis as a Marion County Circuit Court Judge. Also, we have Faith James Kimbrough. Faith James Kimbrough is seeking election as the Marion County Recorder. And this is her first time running for office. And so she brings a passion to the community because a lot of people are still not familiar with what that office actually does. So we're thankful to have her with us this morning. Thank you, Faith. And last but not least, we have our Marion County Prosecutor, Ryan Mears. Yes. Which he is seeking as he was tenured into the office after the resignation of Marion County Prosecutor Terry Curry. He has been holding that office since that time, and this will be his first initial formal campaign seeking election into that office, who's been doing a tremendous job in spite of the negative ads that have been out. And so, again, we're honored to have all of our panelists with us this morning. Can we please give them a round of applause? Before we get into Ryan Mears, as mentioned earlier, he was speaking first. He has a change in his schedule. But I do want to recognize State Representative John Bartlett, who has joined us here this morning. For those of you not aware of State Representative John Bartlett, he is a passion man who also represents the east side of Indianapolis and is tenured in the State House. And he is a powerhouse and fights for all of us, not just his constituents, in many, 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 many ways. So thank you, Representative John Bartlett, for joining us this morning. Again. With that, we want to go right into Prosecutor Ryan Mears with his remarks, his sharing of information, his knowledge, and his message. And let me say, today, we need to be, as former President Obama said, fired up and ready to go. Let's say it, fired up, ready to go. Fired up, ready to go. And the last thing on that is vote, V-O-T-E. Fired up, ready to go, and vote. So with that, Prosecutor Mears, the floor is yours, and thank you again for your presence and your time.
Well, thank you, Kim. Anytime I get to hang out with Kim Boyd, I know it's going to be a good day. So thank you. And thank you to Antonio for hosting this. It's great to see so many familiar faces here. I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in Marion County because I get to run with Congressman Andre Carson and these incredible women right here who are doing such an excellent job. And I also feel fortunate that on the east side, I got my friend Representative John Bartlett holding it down for us. And on the west side, I got my friend Annette Johnson holding it down for us in Pike Township. We got a lot of love all around the city of people working together. And I think the reason so many people are coming together is this is an important election because what we are seeing now is a real fight for our democracy. And, I think for me, individually, being the prosecutor, certainly there's a lot of attention on our race. But part of the reason there's so much attention is because national influence is trying to take over Marion County. And it's not because those people care about Marion County, it's because they want to send a message to people like me who are saying I'm not going to prosecute people for simple possession of marijuana, and I'm not going to prosecute a woman for her right to choose. And because when you take positions like that, it does draw a little bit of attention, it does draw a little bit of heat, but I'm a big believer in you stand up for the community, and that you reflect the priorities of the community and what the community is telling me this is a sensible approach to criminal justice. I started in the prosecutor's office 16 years ago. I've had every job in the building. I've worked my way up. I've tried everything from the simplest misdemeanor case to the most complex homicide case. And I'm proud of the fact that I've tried multiple murder cases and produced some really great results for the office. And I can tell you as a prosecutor, there's no better feeling than getting a guilty verdict for a victim's family. And that's something that I've done time and time again. But I can also tell you as a prosecutor that when you walk out of that courtroom, you understand you've just solved that one case, you haven't solved violent crime in our community. And we need to make sure that we're doing a good job of addressing root cause issues in addition to just holding people accountable. And so you have to be able to do both. And I think that's where my experience in the criminal justice system is so incredibly helpful is I can take that approach and say, we're going to be in a position to try these cases and convict people. We have a 90% conviction rate on homicide cases, but at the same time, I'm also going to invest in people and provide people with opportunities. I will tell you as prosecutor, one of the things that I have learned is that if you get people a job and you get people into housing, you don't see them in the criminal justice system. So we work really hard on the expungement piece. In fact, many of the people in this room have helped us out with that, where we help get felonies removed from people's records. Because I met too many good people who are trying to do right in our community, but they can't get a job because of that felony, or they can't find housing because of that felony. And so we help get those taken off their records so they can be in our workforce, so they can find housing, and when they do that, we don't see them in the criminal justice system. That should be a victory for everybody. The other part of it is I meet too many good people who can't drive. They can't drive and their license has been suspended, not because they've driven 150 miles down 38th Street, but because they got pulled over and they couldn't afford to pay a ticket. And now we criminalize them every time they go to work, every time they go to church, every time they go to school, every time they go to the grocery store, and they're looking over their shoulder every single time. That doesn't make sense for our community. It doesn't make our community safer or more fair. And so when it's people who can't afford to pay, we work with them to waive those tickets, waive those reinstatement fees, because I want people driving on the street legally. And the B&B's fees and what they charge people make no sense. It's not related to anything. And so we work really hard on that piece as well. But I also think it's important that we stay focused on our young people. We deal with a lot of young people in the criminal justice system. The one thing you won't ever hear me talk about is juveniles. They're kids. And we deal with these kids. I'm a big believer in you got to give kids opportunities. So on low-level nonviolent offenses, we don't do a traditional prosecution. We work with those kids. We pay for them to go to the Boys and Girls Club so they have a positive place to go, so they can be around positive adults. They can get access to reliable internet. And the thing that I probably underestimated was we also get those kids hooked up with a social worker. And what we have found is we don't have bad kids. We just have kids that are around bad adults. Where there's too many addiction issues in the home, too many mental health issues in the home, there's food insecurity in the home, there's too many people living in the home. And when you address those underlying issues, what we've found is that's what helps keep kids out of the system, is give them the tools and resources that they need. There's too many kids in our community where people have never made an investment in them. And this idea that we're just going to warehouse them and get out of this problem just isn't accurate. And we have to send a message to young people that we want to invest in them. But we can't do these types of investments unless we have people in our community working together. And I feel very fortunate to have great community partnerships with many of the people in this room who care about the community and want to make a difference in our community. The easiest thing to do as a prosecutor is to stand there and say, we're just going to lock everybody up. That's great, but it doesn't solve our problems. It doesn't make our community safer. There are very few people that are going to the Department of Correction for the rest of their life. So the question becomes, when they come back to our community, what type of resources and what type of support are we going to offer them? And that's where I tried to focus the efforts of the prosecutor's office. We talk a lot about spending a lot of energy and effort on arresting people and things like that. Let's spend that same energy and effort in trying to help people. And I think Marion County is going to be a safer place and a more fair place. Thank you.
Questions? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay, if anyone that might have a question for Prosecutor Mears, you would please approach the microphone right here, I'm sorry, right there, and ask your questions.
I have one for you. I've talked to some defense attorneys about this, and this is just to address some of the things being said. The red flag laws, even if you were to file that on someone in particular, they can still obtain a firearm illegally, right?
Yeah, and it happens every day. I mean,
Right.
I think one of the things I wish people understood is, first of all, the red flag law says nothing about purchasing firearms. It just allows law enforcement to take a gun from that person in that moment of time. Secondly, we have routinely found people where they have these findings under the red flag where they have guns because it's just too easy to get their hands on a gun in the state of Indiana. And, if people were serious about this issue, they would talk about the private regulation of gun sales, but nobody wants to go down, well, Democrats want to go down that road, Republicans don't want to go down that road. And as a consequence, it's just far too easy for anybody, whether it's a young person, someone less than 18 years of age, or someone with mental health issues, to get a gun in our community because they're so readily available.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Prosecutor.
Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Prosecutor.
Good morning.
My question is about concerning a lot of the old buildings that are in our communities. I would like to see those buildings, I and CCI, we would like to see those buildings used to house those men and women that are coming from inside of the prison, maybe 6 months or a year before they come home, to connect them with their families, to have dinners, to sit down and watch movies, not just come straight out of the prison and go home or to a re-entry place, but they need to have family settings. And that's what they need. We got a whole lot of hurting children because these parents have been snatched or put in prison. But what are we gonna do about when these parents get ready to come home and be around their families? Because a lot of them, they don't know how to be a parent anymore because that's been robbed. So what can we do?
First of all, were you hanging out with me this week? Because we had this conversation. I appreciate that, and I 100% agree with you. The challenge that you just mentioned is a really real challenge for people in our community who are coming out of the system. Is what does that runway look like to help those individuals? Mm-hmm. And you just hit the nail on the head in terms of there has to be a support structure in place.
Yes.
The #1 address for people coming back to Marion County is the Wheeler Mission, which tells you that people don't have a safe place to go. They don't have a consistent place to go. And until they find that housing piece, you can't work on your mental health. You can't work on addiction. You can't work with reuniting with your family if you don't even know where you're gonna stay that night. And so that first part of that is exactly what you just talked about, is that need for housing. I see James Wilson here, who's dedicated his life basically to trying to find affordable housing options for people, because it's one of the most pressing issues in our community. And you talked about one of the most important things is, you know, if you've been gone for a couple of years or a couple of decades, you just can't walk right back through those doors and expect everything to be the same. And we as a community can't have those same expectations. The world has fundamentally changed. People have grown. People have, you know, those family relationships and dynamics have changed. And so how can we create a space where people can gradually reintegrate themselves into these communities? And the challenge that we have is people have to be willing to make that investment. And it starts with that housing piece. There has to be a place for people to go. They have to have a safe place to live. And then if you have that safe place to live, then you can work on reconnecting with your kids. Then you can work on developing those relationships with people in your community and people in your neighborhood. But if we just give people $50 and a bus ticket and say good luck, that's not a recipe for success. And that's what we see far too often. And so we have to, as a community and as a state, put the infrastructure in place to deal with that. We at the prosecutor's office, we do the small things. We help people out with getting a driver's license when they're coming out. We help them out with child support obligations, because oftentimes people have these, you know, the clock's been ticking the whole time, so the arrearage just piles up. And so we work with them on those things. But the number one pressing issue when you sit down and talk with these individuals is housing, and they want to get back with their family. But they don't know how. And there's not like a pathway for them to do it because they're so restricted when they're in the Department of Correction. So you are exactly right, and that's where our energy and effort needs. When I talk about can we put that same energy and effort into helping people, that's one of the things that I'm talking about. If we want people to be successful and they come back into our community, that's where we have to make the investment.
For certain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Panel, how you guys doing? Prosecutor Mears. You touched on something talking about the root causes. You know, I do a lot of work in this community, and I listen to a lot of people talk about the root causes and don't see it done. Going back to looking at legislation on the root causes with the constant misconception of what's happening, right? People getting out of jail and they constantly keep reoffending. You spoke on some of those issues of why people are doing so, but from a legal stance, can you kind of explain, especially those that are streaming, the kind of misconceptions that you guys are just letting people out of jail? It doesn't work like that, right? So it's a court basis, more looking at the state aspect of how the laws are made, how people come out based off the constitutional outlines, right? And so can you kind of outline that a little bit, please?
Yeah, I wish I had as much power as people thought I did. And you know, if I did, there'd be a lot of different people in jail. But I don't have that authority. I don't have a badge. I don't have a gun. I can't arrest someone and I can't put someone in jail. And ultimately, someone's bail is determined by a judge. It's got nothing to do with the prosecutor's office. And so, you know, whether or not someone remains in custody or not is ultimately up to a judge. A prosecutor can advocate for a position, but there's a defense attorney who's also advocating as well in terms of should someone stay in custody or not. And I also think it's you know, you brought up a really good point about the sentences. The guidelines that we operate under are given to us. It's not like I get to go in and make up the law or make up the procedure. All of that is given to us by the state. And so the state says, this is what you can do. This is the maximum penalty. This is the minimum penalty. This is what you can do in terms of bail. As you alluded to, the Indiana Constitution requires that there be bail on every case but murder and treason. And so there's a lot of state issues and constitutional issues that tie judges' hands when they make decisions in terms of should someone be released or should someone be sent to the Department of Correction. You can have a really bad person who maybe commits a lower level crime and a judge maybe wants to send them somewhere for a long time, but they can't. They don't have the authority to do so. And I just think it's important that everybody remember, you know, the prosecutor's office is one small part of this system. The police arrest people, the prosecutor's office decides who's charged, the judge decides who gets to stay in custody, a judge ultimately gets to sentence someone. And we're just one small part of the wheels of justice. And I think what we have tried to do is use our part to make sure that the criminal justice system treats people more fairly, because there is an issue of fairness in our system. But you know, we can't do it alone, and we need everybody to work with us.
I appreciate you elaborating on that, because it's so important that everybody understand that, because the message that's out there is that, hey, you're just letting them out, and understanding the process and having that knowledge to go vote for the people that are in office on the state level, kind of get them out. So I appreciate that, Ryan.
Thank you.
Good morning, prosecutor. My name is Alicia Bell. Just bouncing off of some of the information that you put out for everybody. You said you guys are working very closely to kind of navigate the trajectory of the criminal justice system, how the laws are applied and whatnot. I also heard you talk about expungement a lot. We know that some people know that within law, there's a allowable amount of discretion that you guys can offer the clients that come in before you. So with having the information that you guys are already utilizing, such as like the expungement, I would like to talk about one of the biggest things, such as, what's it called? I just was over here sitting there thinking about it. Let me jog my memory, I'm sorry. The hardship license, to be able to file for that. Are you at all advocating for laws to be able to utilize hardship license, since you see that there are a lot of people that are reoffending and they have already went through all that and they're reoffending again, but you see that all these issues exist, mental health, issues within the family. Is there anybody advocating to let these people have a hardship license so they can continue on with, the quality of their life, going to school, going to the grocery store,
Right.
going to work, without getting pulled over, without getting violated, so it's okay to talk about it, but if there's no basis for anybody to do anything for it, then that issue still can be exacerbated. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, around that, are you guys doing anything?
Yeah, so, and I feel very fortunate because I have Amber Collins sitting next to me, who is the judge will be over hardship license here in a little bit. Yeah, and so our basic philosophy on hardship license is I want people driving on the street legally. And so let's help get them a hardship license. I think one of the things that Judge Collins did a great job of when she was the judge there with Judge Lynch is she always gave people an opportunity to come in and have that hearing. And I don't want to speak too much for her, maybe I can turn it over to her, but she can have that opportunity to give people a hearing and an opportunity to explain why they need the license. I think our role as a prosecutor's office is to help people get through that procedure. Oftentimes it's pro se people who are without representation coming into the court. We can't look at it as like, oh, let's be adversaries and let's try to beat that person down. What we need to say is, okay, this is what you need to do so the judge can grant your hardship license. And that's the approach that we've tried to take because, again, I want people driving on the streets legally, and Judge Collins does an absolute fantastic job of facilitating that in her courtroom. Do you have anything to add?
So just real quick, I want to just reiterate the question. So are there any laws right now being advocated for a hardship license to focus on prevention?
Yeah, not here. Go ahead, Representative.
Yes.
There are? Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to answer, Melissa.
Just very quickly, so there's two types of what they're technically called now are specialized driving privileges. There's one for a criminal case and one for a administrative suspension. So it's like if you get a convicted for like an OVWI or a reckless homicide, you would get specialized driving privileges through your criminal court as part of your plea. If it's an administrative suspension, so what Prosecutor Mears was talking about, like you have too many points on your license, it's an administrative suspension because you don't have insurance, if you're HTV, those will come through circuit court. And when he does the prosecutor's office does the second chance workshops, they give people information like, okay, we'll help you get your fees waived, and here's the process for applying for specialized driving privileges. And I know when Judge Luncheon and I were in circuit court, everybody that, you walked into circuit court and said, hey, I need specialized driving privileges, we set you for a hearing. And I took a lot of time explaining to people because a lot of people don't have attorneys and you don't have to have an attorney. You can file the paperwork yourself. Right. Indiana actually has great self-help resources online, like most states don't, but we have indianalegalhelp.org. All the information you need to get specialized driving privileges is on that website. And when you came to court, we went through step by step all the processes you need. So everybody that followed the procedure got a specialized driving privileges.
Wow. Okay, awesome. Thank you. I just had another quick question. It's about the lowering the recidivism rate, which is the rate at which offenders offend and go back into prison. So right now, I've heard of a lot of people that are trying to, get together. So I guess my question is kind of as like a community thing. are there partnerships being formed to make sure that recidivism stays low in the city? And then what are some of those programs that you guys have that's available? Where are those resources located? Are they being sent to the prisoners? Are they being sent to prisoners' families? What kind of communication are you guys doing within the community to make sure that there's an opportunity for when? And I'm only saying this because I have a younger brother. He's been in prison since he was 17 years old, and it was the first time that he really did anything, and he spent 20, 30 years in there. So that's what his sentence was. He's standing coming out. He's getting ready to come out. So I would like to know verbatim, not just my brother, but for anybody else that has somebody that's coming out, what is available for them? Like, where's the hub? Is there a hub that's been created for these felons? I would like to say, and I'm an economic developer, I build a lot of programs and stuff, so I found that in dealing with a lot of different people who have offended, when you put them in, like you said, in a structure around a lot of people who are steady offending, they'll go right back to it. As if you put them where they were isolated and give them an opportunity with, think skills or jobs or whatever that'll help increase, their lifestyle, sustainable. And they won't end up reoffending. It's very minor. But you also have to take a look at some of the statistics that we face right now, and that's the median income of these people in poverty. It would take 3 times the amount for us to live as a middle-class family. So that is a big space. So when you talk about them coming out, it's not just, coming out to what, but you also have to look at the resources, who they're around. Is there an active plan for any of that? Where's the hub? So if an acting prosecutor, are you advocating for a hub for them? Is there laws being, created to sustain these people? What are we doing with this mass amount of people that's getting ready to migrate out?
So the Marion County Reentry Coalition is kind of the hub. And so what the Marion County Reentry Coalition does is it tries to get people hooked up to as many resources as possible and help plan and create that softer landing for people when they come back into our community. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're a part of the Marion County Reentry Coalition. We work very hard with individuals on, as I mentioned, what can we help out on child support? How can we help out on driver's license issues? Let's talk to them about expungement. What's the path to get this taken off someone's record? Those are the types of things that we as an office can directly participate in with the Reentry Coalition. The Reentry Coalition does a lot in terms of trying to get people job ready. I can tell you I have never had a more easy time getting people jobs. We did a program where we were able to where we granted early release to some individuals who were sentenced under the old drug statutes. And it literally took me one call and I got everybody a job. And so it's big in terms of focusing and getting people into employment and getting people employment opportunities. So that's really where the focus is. I will tell you, for what I have seen, the biggest thing that leads to success for people coming out is individual mentorship. Who do you have that's going to kind of guide you and help you? We team up with Stop the Violence Indy, which is Anthony Beverly. He does an outstanding job of having those individual one-on-one mentorships, conversations with people who are coming back out of the system to help them try to get reacclimated in the community, but also here's how I can help direct you to the resources that you need. And it's everything from, I'm just going to be a voice when something goes down and you're thinking about doing something, call me, to these are the people who will hire you, and these are the skills that you can get so you can work towards that middle class lifestyle. Here's the training that we can get you involved in when we talk about job training. Antonio's here. Antonio does an incredible job training individuals who are incarcerated or coming out of the system and giving them helping them develop skills. So there's a lot of things available, but
nothing like at the state level though. No type of programming, nothing been backed by the prosecutor's office. No type of program made specially or specifically from.
I'm not a state level person. Yeah, I'm
Marion County.
Yeah, I'm
state level.
Yeah.
So question is supposed to be flipped. You want to jump in?
I'll just real quick.
Okay, please.
So he has his own program to get people's license back.
Okay.
I also passed a bill to help get people's license back, traffic amnesty. That's the state program. So with that program, you can get 50% off your fees and fines. At the state level, you will see some of those tax credits. If an employer hire an ex-felon, they will get tax credits. So there's various programs to state, and then there's various programs at local. But what I want to say is, we gotta get the people that need the programs connected.
Right.
Because there's
The
a
hub.
lot of programs, and the problem is.
No
the
hub.
people. Yeah, there's no hub right now. There's just a lot of programs, but there's organizations
Yes.
like the Coalition, like PACE, that work with people with ex-felons, but we even got to get people to them.
Right.
Because I'll give you an example. My cousin just came to me. I already sent him to one of Ryan's programs to get his license, but now he has a misdemeanor on his record and he can't get a job. So he's like, where do I go? So now I got to reconnect him to PACE, to Ryan's office.
Okay.
Because they will just sit there and all these programs are there, so we got to work on that connection.
Right.
And some are state and some are local.
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's give a hand to those who have asked these questions. I do need to get Ryan Mears out of here because you said you had an emergency. Do you still have time? I want to make sure we don't interrupt that emergency. Are
Yeah,
you okay?
unfortunately, I got to go to a funeral.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So let's bring him forth. As he's coming forth, I do want everybody to do me a favor for those who have any access to your store. Just download this app called Indiana Reentry. Please download that app. As Ryan has mentioned, we want to be the hub. As a matter of fact, we've been talking with Scott Holt for Marion County to be the hub for reentry. We have a desire for the faith-based community to be the main component to help bridge the gap. We plan on having reentry circles all throughout this city, to whereas when someone gets out of jail and prison, they can tap onto this app and find a reentry circle that will cover the mental health, driver's license, et cetera. The things, of course, that James Wilson is, passionate about and mentioned. The Black Man's Group here, of course, we've been talking about these things, but now we're saying we're ready to do them. As far as the state level, we already approved through the state, Indiana Reentry, to provide jobs and training, and of course we're nationally accredited, and we're also tied in with the Department of Labor to provide apprenticeship training. This housing thing is a big issue, and I know that there are groups that are working on this. I think we just need to tie all those groups together so that we can make it. So great questions, okay? But at this time, I want to acknowledge Ryan Mears as a little plaque. I appreciate everything he's doing. I'll say this as he leaves out. Okay, I want to get a picture right now. Let me see how I bring you. There it is. That's my guy. Okay, right quickly before he leaves out, let me say this. I publicly support and endorse Ryan Mears. I think that he represents the sole conscience of America based on what he believes in and standing for, not prosecuting those minor offenses, looking at the persons who cannot afford an attorney and trying to make sure that the law is not weaponized against people who are poor. And also, I like the fact that if a woman is pregnant, he's not looking to try to put her in jail and put the people in jail based on her choice. So I respect the fact that this man is trying to put people in places where they need to be instead of jails and prisons. So let's give the Lord another hand praise for this man and what that he's doing. God bless you.
Thank you again. Thank you, Prosecutor Ryan Mears. And we thank him for his presence here today. Before we go into the panel that's remaining here with us today, we thank you for your time and your appearance and your presence. I do want to acknowledge two additional elected officials that I was remiss in the beginning. So I live in Pike Township. Want to again recognize Pike Township trustee Annette Johnson. And the other one is being the most tenured person on the City County Council, City County Councilman Monroe Gray. I asked Monroe not too long ago, I said, Monroe, how many elections have 20-something. Can you imagine that in your head? 20-something election cycles. And you only imagine. So again, we thank both of you for your service, both Trustee Johnson and Councilor Gray. Let me put out a few things. There's a value added to this today, so please know that we have Charlotte Crabtree with Overdose Lifeline Inc. For people that want to know about Overdose Lifeline, as well as we have Deirdre Coleman, who has a program that can help people with mortgages and lowering that interest rate to 3%. So they're both in the area where you have food this morning. And if you want to sign up, get a brochure, learn more from both of these wonderful ladies, then please feel free to do so. So with that, we'll go right into our panel, and we'll just go from my right, possibly your left, with State Representative Robin Shackelford. And if you would, just after that, with your introductions of each, just go from one to the other, and then we'll follow up with Q&As from the audience. So thank you all.
Thank you. So thank you all for being here. I'm excited to be here. I see this room filled with some of our highest community leaders, our highest activists. So we appreciate any time that we can get directly in front of you and give you an update, let you know where we are, let you know where we are in our campaigns, what we want to work on for this next legislative session. So for my campaign, this campaign, I don't have an opponent, but I am out here helping the rest of the Marion County ticket because it is basically a war going on out here where you have another party trying to destroy some of our best elected officials, whether if they are incumbents or they are new people coming to the field. We want to make sure that they are being protected and that they win at the polls. So from now until Election Day, if you have not volunteered at a polling site, if you have not walked and canvassed or knocked on a door or made a phone call, I am asking you and begging you, please help us get out so we can turn out the vote for the Democrat Party. We must keep this county, because if you have Democrats in the office, we have a conscience to us for the community. We feel that we are beholden to the community. And so our ideas and our bills, proposals, anything that we're trying to push, it comes directly from the community. So we want to make sure that we get all our elected officials and our incumbents in office on Tuesday. For me, we are getting ready to go back into the legislature. And you guys know that is 150 state reps and senators from around this whole state, 92 counties. So the challenge is, how do we get our community needs, our community wants, on a scale that everyone can see it as something that will be beneficial and positive to the whole state? That is the message that we are trying to send when we say someone from the east side, someone from the far east side, even the west side, things that we want to see change. We got to make sure that we convince the majority at the state legislature. Some of those things that we want to see change, when you're talking about ex-offenders, what our reentry programs look like, we don't have a state job credit for hiring someone that's an ex-offender. There's a federal credit, but there's no state. I tried to get this pushed through for about 2 or 3 years. If that still needs to happen, that needs to be something that we need to push. We also need to look at creating a hub. What does that look like? Studying that. Because there is so much information out here, people get confused, they don't know where to go, and we need to be able to connect all of these programs. Some of the things that I will be working on is our achievement gap. African Americans have a greater decrease. Our records just came out when it comes to our kids being able to read in the 3rd grade. And we all know at that 3rd grade level, if you can't read, you are going straight to prison. That is when the pipeline starts. So we have to work on that and get our kids up to reading level. Mental health. As I sat with the family for Herman Whitfield III last week for his birthday memorial, it was horrific what happened to him. 2 things we got to work on. We have to work on mental health issues. We have to work on more long-term funding to help with mental health in this community. And then we have to bring justice for that family. It can't be one or the other, it has to be both. So we have to continue to look at how our law enforcement is handling our community members with mental health issues, making sure that we're giving long-term funding to help with those programs that are working, or coming up with new programs that are not working. So those are two main things. Housing is going to be another big one. In the past, I have worked on behalf of renters, making sure that they get their rights, making sure that they're not getting kicked out of their apartments, their homes, and then also making sure that they're living in safe conditions. We just had a whole study on housing over the summer. Recommendations came out, about 12 recommendations. So we have to make sure that we are advocating and pushing for those recommendations that's going to help our community. And then another one on health, we have to decrease the cost of insulin. For years, I have pushed the bill to decrease the cost. I don't care if it's $50, $100 a month, or $35 a month. We got to get it to something affordable for everyone. The federal legislation that just passed does it for seniors through the Medicare program. And if we can do it for our seniors through the Medicare program, we should be able to do that to our seniors through the Medicaid program, for our low-income families through the Medicaid program. At least start there if we can't have it done statewide and for all the payers and programs. Those are just a few things. I could spend more than 2 minutes talking about things we need to work on, but I'm gonna hand it over to Faith James Kimbrough, who is doing an awesome job running for Marion County Recorder, and let her speak about her campaign.
Thank you, Representative Shackelford. So, hi everybody again. I am Faith James Kimbrough. I am a first-time candidate running to be your Marion County Recorder. So just by way of a hands, besides the elected officials, do you all know, as residents of Marion County, what the function is of the Recorder's Office, by way of hands? Okay, so I see a few people that do not. So the Recorder's Office holds public records of property transactions, such as liens, deeds, mortgages, and more. And that office is important to you as a Marion County resident, because I'm sure you know there's a lot of land that's being built, a lot of buildings that's being built lately. If you go down, 16th Street, I've never seen where there has been $600,000 townhomes. So I don't know if you're getting the calls every day. They want to buy your home, they want to sell your home. So it's very important that you check your deed. There's some houses that are empty. They're looking at those partials. They're trying to see who owns those deeds. And if you have a family member that may have some old land that you might not know about, just look into that address. And that's what the Recorder's Office has, those deeds there. And you're probably getting a lot of calls. I know I get 10 calls a day. Do you want to sell your home? Do you want to sell your home? I do not. And so why am I mentioning that? Because the Recorder Office does offer a free fraud alert. The fraud alert can be placed on your deed. So if someone tries to access your deed, the Recorder's Office will contact you to let you know. I think it's very important. So I pride my campaign on education, because contrary to belief, we are not the 125-year-old newspaper, the Recorder. We are the Recorder's Office. So please remember liens, deeds, mortgages, and more. I do have 25 years of experience of leadership, because that office has 18 employees. And they need to be competent to be able to do their job. So I can lead customer service. I understand how to service a customer. I've been a precinct committeeman also for 10 years, so I know how to help candidates get in office, but now I am the candidate. And just as State Representative said, we need your help. We cannot win without you. This office is for the people and by the people. It is a self-funded office. And if people do not know about the Recorder's Office, if they do not come out and vote, those deeds will not be accessible to you. And so it's a very, very important office that a lot of people do not know about. So I hope that you can retain the information I have given you, that, and you can say it with me, liens, deeds, mortgages, and more. Let's go. Liens, deeds, mortgages, and more. That's what it stands for. So I am Faith. I am excited to run to be your next Marion County Recorder. I pride myself in education, and I will win on November the 8th. See you there.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'd like to thank Pastor Liscombe and everybody here for allowing us to speak to you today. My name is Amber Collins Geber-Hewitt. I'm running to be your next Marion Circuit Court judge. I was actually Judge Lynch's magistrate in the court. That's kind of like the assistant judge. Just to give you A little background about Circuit Court. Circuit Court does all the administrative specialized driving privileges in Marion County. We do 10 to 20% of the paternity cases. So if you have a kid out of wedlock in Indiana, it's considered a paternity case. 10 to 20% of those come through Circuit Court. We also do tax sale cases. So if you lose your house in a tax sale, or you want to purchase property in a tax sale and there's some litigation that arises as a result of that, those come through Circuit Court. We do the quiet title cases, which are akin to the tax sale. So if you purchase a property and your title insurance can't fix your title and you have to have litigation about that, that comes through Circuit Court. We do 2 to 3% of the civil cases in Marion County, and we're a fifth of the election cases in Marion County. So if there's litigation over a school board race or the new city county council district maps, those can come through Circuit Court. And we also do collection cases for the civil cases that come through Circuit Court. So Circuit Court's a very important court. A lot of the cases that come through Circuit Court, people cannot afford an attorney. They represent themselves. So it's very important that you have a judge in Circuit Court that is committed to giving everybody a fair shake. Everybody's entitled to a hearing. Judge Lynch strongly believed in that. I strongly believed in that. If you walk through that door, we gave you a hearing, gave you a day to make your case. Sometimes people are in the wrong place or you're filing the wrong thing, and we always, explain that to you on the record. So even if we couldn't help you, we told you where to go to get the best help that you could. So it's a very important court, especially for Democrats to keep. It's the only constitutionally created court in Marion County, so I appreciate your support on November 8th. We have a lot of great candidates on the slate this year, so just vote straight Democrat.
Again, we want to thank all of our panelists for giving that overview. And if elected or re-elected, and Representative Shackle, for instance, what they plan to do in their offices. And we need that. So with that, I also want to make sure that everyone knows that Indigo all day on November the 8th is providing free rides, free transportation. So there's no excuse not to go vote. So please make sure that you spread that word, as well as thanks to LaDonna Freeman. She has provided slates, which should be out in the lobby area where the food was, as well as where you can go to vote on Election Day, November the 8th, next Tuesday. So again, please make sure that you grab those materials, you spread them in the community, and again, we get fired up and what? Thank you very much. With that, we will go into our Q&As. If anyone has any questions for the panelists, if you would please approach the podium there and begin the Q&As with our panelists today. I would like to start off with one for Robin Shackleworth. I don't like people not saying anything. Okay, that's just me. But, right now, there's a horrific case that the Supreme Court is about to hear. I think you know where I'm about to go. Health and Hospital Corporation, unfortunately, submitted a case to be heard before the Supreme Court that can, if approved, will affect not only residents in Indiana that are dependent upon nursing care services, those benefits, and the like. This will have nationwide ramifications, and it will be another negative mark in the state of Indiana. As in the state of Indiana, we're already like number 3 on evictions. We don't have, and not to mention the infant mortality rates, we're one up there, the highest states in the nation. So let me ask you, are there any plans for the state to try to counter, or possibly this next legislation, look at what can be done if the Supreme Court rules in favor of this case?
So thank you for bringing that up. The case that is going to be heard on November the 8th by the Supreme Court that has been requested by Health and Hospital is definitely detrimental to our community, detrimental to our city, is detrimental to our nation, because it basically says, and it's going to take away rights of anyone that is on a public assistance program like Medicaid, disability, any of those public assistance programs, TANF. You will no longer have the right to sue a government-ran facility and take away that basic right. If you felt that that facility or that entity did not take care of you, they want to take away that right. Their reasoning is because they lost their case. This case started in Valparaiso. Someone sued Health and Hospital, a nursing home that they own, because they felt like that their person, they died and they didn't get the proper care. They lost in the lower court, they appealed, and they won in appeals.
Yeah.
So now Health and Hospital, they are projecting how much it will cost them if other people sued them and were able to go to the federal level and sue. Then what they're looking at is the numbers. Like, can we afford this? And to them, they're saying they can't afford it. But to us, to the Black Caucus, to the advocates, we're saying it's not about money. You cannot put a price on someone's life, and you cannot put a price on someone's rights.
Absolutely.
The piece of legislation that they're trying to change, it doesn't directly say you have a right to sue. The rights are connected to this piece, to this section in law. And there's 3 different rights under there. It's the civil rights, it's disability rights, and then it's another larger right. So when the Supreme Court goes in and starts taking away these rights, it's not just going to be for the right to sue in these agencies.
Absolutely.
It will affect all those rights.
Absolutely.
And it's what our people need to understand. Like, we need to be shouting and advocating. This is one of the biggest advocacy moments. Nancy Pelosi has already jumped on this. The Congressional Black Caucus, they have already jumped on this. They are trying to do everything they can to stop this. So if it goes through and the Supreme Court does do something, the first change will have to come at that federal level. They are already preparing legislation just like they're doing for when the anti-abortion went through. We would do the same thing at the state level to see what can we now change, just like we did for the abortion. But we're all going to be on the other side as far as the Democrats, because you have to remember the Supreme Court, the conservative Supreme Court has already been trying to get rid of this section of the law. So that's why they took it so easily. And we asked Health and Hospital to withdraw their petition, but they're refusing to withdraw it. And Todd Rokita even doubled down on it.
Right.
Like, went ahead and filed another brief in support of it. So, very, very heinous case, but we will do everything we can at the state level to, right now, to make sure that this never happens again. And then if it does come down, looking at what are some of those solutions we can do at the state level.
Well, thank you, Representative Shackle, for that, because I think people really, really need to be and have this on their radar. Let me also say that Representative Shackelford, for those of you that don't know or aren't aware of, she is the president of the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus as well. So, you know, along with State Representative John Bartlett, I mean, they are definitely advocating, but they are in a super majority, and they are a super minority. I do want to point out on that case, Representative Shackelford, a lot of people might not know this, but on the Health and Hospital Corporation, when we talk about the elections and the scope of elected officials, is that the mayor appoints, correct me if I'm wrong, the mayor appoints the director of Health and Hospital Corporation, which in this case is Paul Babcock. The mayor also has 3 appointed board seats on that board. And I'm just going to park that right there. So, but people need to know the awareness of how all these layers exist within our city and who's working with us, for us, and maybe who is denying us opportunity. And that goes on several different layers. So thank you, Representative Shackelford. That is an extremely important case that's going to have ramifications and a negative mark on the state of Indiana, not to mention the residents in Indianapolis. And thank you, Representative Bartlett, on the state level. They're going to make sure that you can do as best as you can to circumvent if the Supreme Court does rule in favor of this case. So thank you. Questions, please? Anyone that would have questions? If you would, please come to the podium right there. Thank you, Charlotte. Ms. Crabtree.
I want to say good morning to all the panelists. I'm Charlotte Crabtree, and I'm with Overdose Lifeline. I have already sent in my absentee ballot because I'm a senior citizen and I sent to get it early. So if I can push it over the edge, you've already got that. we all seem to have a sense of they will take care of it. From my perspective, we are they. And I know that as elected officials, we elect you and you go to perform your duties. And between elections, what can we as the public do to help, to advocate, and to support you in the meantime? Because some of us are anxious and we want to help, and there's nobody we can go and slap or whatever we may want to do. So what is the best avenue that we can stay in contact with you and assist in our communities? There's many of us that work in the communities, and we want to do what we can. So is there any guidance that you can offer that we can do on a continuous basis that will maybe affect the apathy among the community?
I'll let you guys know, because this is my favorite topic, but I'll let you go.
Thank you so much. I would say from the recorder's standpoint, it's education. I hope that you all walked away knowing that the fraud alert, that is a free tool for anybody that owns a home, is very big. So if you just tell people, if you own a home, put the fraud alert on your deed or any documents that you have so that you can be notified. So I just think just educating people in the recorder's office, and also too, it's just not about deeds, wills and trust. If you know the person, and or they may have their will available, we can record that so that the kids don't have to run around and looking for mom and daddy's will, or what did they do with the information, we can't find it. It will be recorded at the recorder's office. So I would just say educate when you can. If somebody brings something home, or even a veteran, their military DD-214 papers can be recorded for free. So there's a lot of things that the recorder's office offers. So to be able to help me during my first term election, being an elected official, because I really feel I'm going to win, that is the most help that I can have. You can advocate by educating. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. I think education is important. Indiana, for a lot of its flaws, is really progressive with regards to court access. Every court filing in the state, unless it's a private case, like some of the old divorce cases and paternity cases are sealed in juvenile cases, but all court records are available online on mycase.in.gov. A lot of people don't know about that. Like I said, Indiana has a very good initiative to give people access to the court. So if you can't afford an attorney, but you want a child support modification, or you want a name change for your child, all those forms are available online on indianalegalhelp.org. The courts are open to people. Like, anybody can walk into court and watch any case they want, whether it's a missing child, or you want to watch a tax sale case, or there's a case pending right now about the abortion. Just letting people know the courts actually are for the people. You can come in and see any case you want to see. You can't necessarily call a judge and start talking to them about a case, but you always have the right to be there and be present. So just letting people know about those resources.
And for advocacy at the state level, I'm just going to go over quick 3 things: when, how, and the impact. Why? When, this is a time to come and talk to your legislators. This is the interim time. Spring, summer, and fall is when we're not in session. We go into session in January. So this is a time that we're crafting our legislation, looking at our bills, listening to people, doing research. So this is the biggest time period that you need to come in. You can easily say, I want to talk to you, I want to get a meeting with you. We'll come to where you are. We'll come to have coffee. We'll come out to your facility. If you have an issue and if you have a solution, that's what we're looking to hear. And we will put it into legal form. We will put it into a bill. So you don't have to know how to draft legislation. You just bring us the idea. And this is that main time. How do you then advocate? Once you get your legislator and get a bill that you want authored, here's how you do it. You have to get allies. Get with your other groups that deal with overdoses and addictions. There's several of them out there. Everyone get together and say, we're going to be advocating for this piece of legislation when it comes in January. One of the bills that I have came from one of the drug treatment individuals up in Northwest Indiana. He found who I was, so we have been trying to push this bill for addictions and mental health for the past 2 cycles. and we'll do it also again. It's been tweaked. We've been working with PACE here, other groups. So find a piece of legislation. Make those phone calls to the chairperson because they are the sole person that decides if a bill is going to get heard in a committee. Come to the committee, send letters, emails, send phone calls, and come and testify. Anyone can walk in off the street and testify in committee, but it's only in committee. You don't get to testify on the floor. So it's during that committee process. Legislators want to hear those personal stories. They want to be engaged and want to hear from the community. They hear from us every day. They hear from lobbyists every day. But if you come in, they are going to be totally engaged and say, okay, how is addictions, how is it affecting the people that you know? And then we want to hear, and they'll ask you questions. And it's going to be plain and calm just like this. And then the impact that you can have. I tell people this story because people don't realize, like a phone call, an email, if we got, say, 500 emails or 500 phone calls on addictions, on racial biasness, on implicit bias training, on anything that we want to see for the Black community, we're not getting that now. And we count every single email that comes in, we count every single phone call that come through. I can count on probably about one hand how many calls and emails that I get in my staff, in my office, when it comes to these issues that affect our community. But there was an issue in the health committee. Representative Porter had a bill that he was putting forth on the behalf of the health department regarding bed bugs. The bill inadvertently affected cats, feral cats. Those are those wild cats that you see walking out in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So when I say all the cat people came down, all the animal people, and here's what happens. When you send us an email, when I say send me an email to that H98 account, it comes directly to my phone. So it beeps directly to my phone, and a lot of legislators have their accounts to their phone. The chair at that time of the health committee, she wasn't going to hear Porter's bill because she didn't want to hear it. She didn't have anything, she didn't want to do anything about bed bugs. We received over a weekend 700 plus emails about these cats.
That got the attention.
That gets your attention. Because imagine if my phone is sitting here and all it's going to beep, 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 it's vibrating because those 700 emails are coming through.
Right.
She calls me because she's like, Robin, what's going on? Like, what's going on with these cats? I didn't even know the bill affected cats. So she's like, okay, I'm going to have to hear this because so many people are sending this. And then she heard the bill. You can be so impactful, and to do an email, if you go to our website and you want to look up your person, it's just one click. It automatically sends the email. It don't have to be nothing fancy. You could just say, I support programs for addictions, I oppose this, or I support this bill, and just hit that click, hit that button. So you can do a lot. The people can do a lot. I say I'm a champion for the community, but the community has to be a champion for the people.
Absolutely.
You have to champion yourself.
Thank you.
I'll end right there.
Thank you. As State Representative Bartlett makes his way up, we want to acknowledge another elected official that has now joined us, and that is the current clerk of Marion County, Myla Eldridge, in her last term of office. As well as she is running herself for office, as well as she is now the president of the Marion County Democratic Party, and then the other office for the state. So very active. So thank you, Myla.
Just say Myla,
Come to the party.
Thank you. I don't have a question, but a few comments. One, Faith talked about recording your deed. How many of you seen on TV where they said if you don't have this alert on your deed and da-da-da-da, you pay this amount of money? She's telling you that you can get this service free at the recorder's office. No one will be able to sell your house, that this is the service they're trying to sell you on television. It's not necessary. Go through her, and this is education that we've never received before. Representative Shackelford talked about the cats. We had a bill when the year the Super Bowl was here, and on human trafficking. 17 people came down and testified in favor of that bill, and we were thankful. But we also, that same year, had a bill on puppy mills. Over 300 people came to the State House to testify on puppy mills. Now, we were doing something to save your children, to save women from being human trafficked, 17 people. But when it came to puppies, over 300 people showed up at the State House. Young lady asked about criminal justice. 2021, I had a bill, House Bill 1016, to study our criminal justice system. We use the same criminal justice system that we used when Jesse James was robbing trains. And it's a fact that they want to go back to that with the permitless gun carry.
Absolutely.
Because, don't forget, we have the stand your ground law in the state of Indiana. So Kim, I don't like your sweater, so what? So we step outside, I outdraw you. The police come, she had a gun, I feared for my life. She go to the morgue, I go to the house. We have to pay attention. You have a computer at your fingertips. You need to pay attention as to what's going on and who's doing what.
Amen.
I challenge anybody to Google John Bartlett, House District 95, see what he's doing, see how he votes, see what he's voting for, see what he's voting against. I voted against the $200 rebate that you got. I voted against it, and I'll tell you why. And I was one of, what, 3 people that voted against it, maybe 5? But I said on the House floor, the $200 is not really going to do anything for us, but we need mental health facilities across the great state of Indiana. We need drug treatment centers across the great state of Indiana. And if we recover someone from human trafficking, where do we take them? We've got homeless folk in Marion County, and we're tearing down the women's prison over there where we could have housed them. And so, yes. So I voted against the $200 because we have a $6.1 billion surplus in the great state of Indiana where they've overtaxed you. So let's put that money where it's going to help. That's in our mental health facilities, in our drug treatment centers, in our human trafficking recovery houses, and make those dollars work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna come up. So I gotta clap that again, 'cause that was awesome. That was awesome. I want to come up here one final time. I hear you, Representative Shackelford. I hear you. I heard everything that you said. Coming from what I'm trying to change, I'm still in the same community as when I was a little girl. So it's kind of hard to take in when somebody tells you, just tell us what you want to, take it all in. From a little kid, I was in Martindale Brightwood, and as an adult, I'm still in Martindale Brightwood. And it's not because of me not doing what I'm supposed to do, it's because of things around the atmosphere are not changing. There's a lot of people saying, just tell us, just tell us. I want to move beyond the point to where I just tell you. I want to move to where I can move with you. I'm not at the level to where I can be at the State House, but I know that I can walk beside you and help give you some of the knowledge that the good Lord gave me to envision these projects that I see that are going to help build us up from the bottom up. So how do we begin to walk side by side? There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect in the communities. There's a power struggle. Some of the people have managed to crawl and fight they way up to the top, and they managed to get just a building. There's other people who are just starting, and they're just now getting a group of people together. There's another group of people who are managing to put together these networking events. And I see everybody out advocating for the same thing, but nobody is working together. But everybody's here and there and there. It's a power grab. How can we manage to change anything if nobody can see eye to eye and that the mission is for us to come together under some type of umbrella? It might not be the format that you have today. It might be the format with an addition of somebody else and somebody else and somebody else just to get that little point that you had there to come alive, that vision. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's very discouraging to hear that so much can be done, but yet so little is being done. We have to find a way, again, I keep saying hub because that's what keeps coming here and here. There is no place that we can go to that opens up the whole plethora of ideas to deal with everything that's going on. So myself, as a business consulting, as an economic developer, I sit down over the computer and I realize what I've been through. I passed foster youth, having to raise kids on my own, have to experience all of the things that I had in these bad neighborhoods, and these are all just testimonies for later. But I feel like these programs that I've developed are the premise of where we need to start to address the mental health issues, to address the stagnation of our families, to elevate us to a point of sustainability, and it has to spread like cancer. So that's what the models that I've built do. So we have to find a way that we can take 1 or 2 different models and put them together, maybe 4 or 5. And I keep trying to tell people, we can have 40 CEOs, we can have 50 executive directors, we can have as many as we want. So what is the fight for power for? What is the fight for power for? There's a disconnect. I would like to see our representatives come with people that are in the community, such as myself. Nobody's ever knocked on my door to ask me this whole time, what do I need? So I hear people saying, oh, we work for the community, work in the community. Where? Where? I see the church function, and just so happened, I had this email for this event come to me out of nowhere. So even though you have these hubs and that you guys are putting out information for people to make it, nobody's getting it. We don't understand what's going on. There are so many laws and bills being passed at a rate to where we can't even comprehend it. So let alone trying to pay bills, worrying about the rent, we got mortgage, we got lights, we got utilities, we got insurances for phones, how can we keep up? How can we keep up? That's the question I ask you. So how are you guys, as representatives, as people that are going to be working for the community, how can you make sure that people are understanding where we're going? What is the trajectory? Because right now I hear programs here, community events here, advocacy here, but nothing's changing. But everybody's saying so much. And it gets me excited because I'm ready to get up in there like, let me where?
Panel,
Where?
If I could interject before you guys answer. Now, we're going to go here today.
Come on, Kim, go there, ma'am.
And see, Pastor Lipscomb's today I stand here as Kim Boyd Community Advocate. But I totally agree with you. And the organization that I have is called the Hope Team. And it stands for Helping Others Prosper Economically. It's a grassroots, volunteer, collaborative organization. We don't receive any funding. We don't have a paid staff. But we do have a whole lot of passion. And several of the people in the room here today are part of that Hope Team. Now, to your question, Monroe Gray, Council Gray, State Representative Bartlett, we do that. We do that with elected officials. Anybody knows me knows. I will ask that question. I have my personal politics, which sides with all of these beautiful ladies, Prosecutor Mears. But the problem is that for almost 30 years that we've been in existence, that very comment that you made, we have been trying to get people to come together, to share, to grow, to learn about all the agencies, all the groups that are free, low cost, and affordable in Indianapolis. And we have no problem reaching out to Councilor Gray if there's an issue with this city, to State Representative Bartlett if there's a concern with state legislation. I've even reached out to Mila, our clerk, when I asked about the $1 million that time. Where did the $1 million go?
Right.
You understand? So let me say to you, to give you some encouragement today, that there is a group in this city that's doing it, but we're not politically correct, and we're not bought, and we're not paid for it. But you best believe the Charlotte Crabtrees, the James Wilsons of this city, we talking and connected. The Mike Wallace, we're talking and connected. And we don't care about titles, but we do care about, there goes my brother and my sister.
Yeah.
Okay, because there by the grace of God go I. So, until someone wants to embrace us, brand us, support us, because we're doing it. We've been doing it for almost 30 years. And every agency that's come there has grown. Every one of them. Because we don't cut it off. So you can't always put it on the state elected officials. Although, I will say to them, they need to respond back, son, I'm not going to say all, back to the community and that engagement. Because sometimes just a mere message can give you encouragement.
Yes.
And acknowledgement that you went to talk to somebody, says, okay, you know what? I value you. I value what you have to say. They're busy. They got staff. But the thing is that what investment do we make in this community? Because our democracy is under attack.
Yes, it is.
Make no mistake about it. and it's coming to push it more to the state level. So it's ever more important when you get to housing, when you get to homeless, when you get to voters' rights, that we support our state legislators, as Shackelford just said. Because we can't point the finger all at them. We have answers within ourselves. And we must execute those answers in that advocacy with ourselves and be adult enough not to take it personal. Because we're in a fight for our lives for the next generation. So I'm just going to say that. I'm going to go with him.
And with that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up with one final question.
Oh, no, I want to respond to you. I do want to respond to you before your next question. I've been in this seat for 10 years. When I first started, I was out in the streets. I was canvassing. I was meeting with every group I can. Representative Crawford said, you're going to burn yourself out. The one I took over his seat, they had been there for 40 years. So when people say, where are you at? This is usually what happens. When you have a legislator that comes from the community, that comes from Martindale Brightwood, that's been raised in Mapleton Fall Creek area, educated by the IPS public school system, I know what it feels like. I know what those issues are that come from a single mom. When you get in there and you're a freshman and you start fighting and representing, if you do your job well, you will extend. And when you go up, you don't forget the people that you represent, but your time commitment gets taken up. So now, as chair of the Black Caucus, on the leadership team, I'm mostly in meetings. But when I'm at that table, Martindale Brightwood, the Far East Side, is coming with me. So, and I say this because we have to decide how much time we're going to give in the community and how much time we're going to give to make laws and at the State House. You hire me to represent you at that level. If I spent all my time still in the neighborhood, at the barbershop, the beauty shop, you're gonna be like, well, if you down here, who's up there representing me? Who's at every meeting, who's at every table, who's trying to talk down the governor and get him to look at us? Who's trying to get the Speaker of the House and who's speaking on our behalf? In 2018, and people have to realize we're part-time. We are part-time. That means you need another full-time job. So we're working full-time, we're working part-time in the legislature. The staff, we don't get a whole staff person. We get 1/4 of a staff person.
And it's done on purpose.
Yeah, so everything that we do, we're handling a lot of it ourselves. The reason why I have my account coming to me is because my staff person may miss something because they gotta work for 3 other people. So I wanna get and hear from my constituents directly. I respond and then have her follow up. I see your emails coming through personally, so I stay connected. In 2018, I had a corporate job. You're in corporate America, they want you to go up. They were wanting me to be partner. It was pulling me away from the community. I was missing the meetings. I was missing the town hall meetings. So I had to make a decision, do I want to make money and extend this way and help my community from the outside in? Or do I want to stay in the public and help my community from the inside out? I left that corporate job because my calling and my purpose is to help build my community from the inside out. So from then on, I've just been working for myself. And all my time is dedicated to improving the East Side and the Far East Side. It takes time, it takes progress. We are in a super minority. So any little bit that we get, we're fighting constantly just to get any money to come to Marion County. Marion County is hated at the state because they think we get everything. But the reason why the progress is so slow is because the fight is so hard and the fight is so deep. But we continue to be at those seats and fighting. So I hear everything that you're saying. I'm not telling you to ask me. I'm telling people to take your power. You have to educate yourself. I'm willing to come and educate you on how do you take your voice and make sure that it's heard. And I have to bring this up because it was the Reverend, Reverend Sharpton, Al Sharpton. And he gives this example because people were complaining about elected officials when they're not in the community. He said, you can't be the agitator and be the person in the boardroom or at the State House. The agitators, and they have to organize themselves, because there's no way you can be the person protesting in the street, marching in the street, galvanizing the advocacy effort. You can't do that and be over here leading the cause at the State House, at Congress. It's two different jobs. So I take pride in doing my job. I want to help the community do their job more and be more impactful. What I'm working on is trying to come up with some type of program, advocacy program, that is packaged in a way that people understand how to advocate at all these different levels, what those resources are, how to come out, creating the app, looking at all this stuff, because people do, you're fired up, you want to get involved. Yeah, you want to help. Yeah, you want to help yourself. You just don't know how. Like you said, there's things over here, things over here, people sending you stuff. So there has to be a whole education on advocacy and educating the people, and that's my next step. And I hope you come along, because I'm gonna call you.
Thank you.
My final question, and I'm gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, because we really.
I know. I'm gonna make it quick. I promise. I think as we know, there's 52 states here in the United States. I believe a handful of them, 9 to 12 of them, do not have a nonprofit association. Indiana is one of those states. So that is like the premise of the money misappropriation that we're experiencing here in Indianapolis. There's a lot of money that's been funneled for our communities, and we have a lot of people that are not even in Marion County, coming from different places. They getting that money, they disappear with the money. So what can we do about advocating or possibly speaking about forming a nonprofit association for Indianapolis, Indiana, the state of Indiana as a whole? And that's my question.
I'm going to take that back, because usually the associations are broken down by causes. So you will have an association over here and all the nonprofits, everybody who's against addictions, everybody who's for reentry. So I don't know if there's overreaching just one just for all the nonprofits, but I'll take that back and look into it.
Oh, with that being said, thank you, and thank you for your question. To the lady standing in line, maybe you can talk with the panelists afterwards, because we're going a little bit over time on schedule. So with that, I want to thank all of our panelists again, and I want to turn it over to all your wisdom, your insight, best wishes to all of you on November the 8th, that you're successful and get ready for
I'm going to allow, real quickly, of course, we would have to give respect to Myra and also our member here, so we're going to ask that you go ahead and give us your questions real quick, and then we'll transition.
I don't have a question, I have a comment, and I promise to be very brief, because you don't have to be long to be strong.
That's right.
I just want to say that I stopped by this morning to support these candidates because I believe in these candidates.
Yes.
And I think what's really important and critical to everyone that is in this room, when you ask, what can I do and where does it begin? You know where it begins at the ballot box.
That's right.
So I think it's really important that you vote, and you vote for the individuals that are going to be the voice for you, and that are going to listen to you, and that are going to sit down and talk to you and hear your ideas. So that's where it begins at. So I wanted to be very, very clear about those in this room that I know all of y'all have already voted, and I know y'all have a plan to vote, right?
That's right.
I know everybody. So again, I just wanted to say how much I am so proud of our Democratic candidates.
Yes. We
have an awesome slate, and I encourage everyone, again, if you have not already voted, make sure you vote, because the Democratic candidates are the best candidates. Vote for a better tomorrow. Use your voice and vote Democrat. Thank you.
Amen. Go ahead. Thank you so much. That came from our clerk. Amen.
In mind, one of the things I would like to see happen, and us here at CCI, we're trying to put a plan together. We want to see community centers all over the place. We don't need a $65 million renovation to Douglas Park, $100 and something million renovation to the Monon Trail. We need that money put into our children for their growth. We're into not public schools anymore. We got academies, preparatories, and all of this, charters all over the place. What has happened to our school system and our school buses? Those are some of the things. And one other thing is we need to take the grocery stores into the community, which will mean that we need U-Haul trucks to put the groceries on the trucks, not just the commodity places, but these people want to buy food. Right. These children need food, nourishing food. They don't need a little box here and a little box there. But our communities, we're getting too many gas stations, too many beauty supply stores, and too many of this, too many of that. But we don't have enough places for our families and our mothers to go grocery shop. So we need to take the grocery stores into the communities.
Amen. Thank you so much. First of all, before we transition, I know we're kind of running a little bit behind, but let's give the Lord a great hand clap for all of these officials, public officials that have come, our panelists. I just want to make sure we get, and also for those who are sitting in their respective places, let's give the Lord a good hand praise for our elected officials in the audience as well. Those were great questions. I know everybody's going to be recruiting you because that was marvelous. All those wonderful questions that you had and comments, and everyone that was commenting. We do thank you and we appreciate you. I want to take it, since I know we're running behind, but I want to acknowledge Brian Carter. I want you to come up with the Black Man's Group, just to come up and so people can see you. Because one of the key things that was said of course, by our distinguished panel and those who were asking questions, just stand on this side up here with me. Come on. Brother Eric, come on over here with me. He represents Minority Contractors Collaboration. He's our Vice President. I have a few more staff members that's with me, and please be patient with me because we do want to honor you before you leave with a gift. But one of the disconnects I'm starting to see is the fact that we have had people like, of course, Kim Boyd for 30 years serving and working and doing for our community, and we want to make sure that we line up with groups like hers, the whole team that has done a marvelous job down through the years. And what we're hoping is that the knowledge, of course, of Mike Wiley and all of these different people who have been served, John Barley, etc. And then, of course, Ms. Martin, she's been doing a wonderful job as well as others that I've been So this is what we need. We need for you all and what you know to be passed down to us. I think that's where the disconnect is, that we come and we sit under your feet and we learn from you and glean from you, because we know there were some things that worked 30 years ago, but they can't work today. I almost asked for some amens to be in the church, so I couldn't ask for amen in the church. Okay, amen. So what I want to say, this man right here, I'm telling you, he has done a marvelous job. And I don't know if you guys know the work he's doing with the Black Man's Group. But I'm a part of the Black Man's Group, and we get together, and there's no cussing, there's no fighting, there's no, craziness about it. This man is doing a wonderful job, and we already know what James is doing. He's just a powerhouse, amen. You may not know about Eric. He's a young man who comes in our office. He serves, and we're part of the Minority Contractors Collaboration and also the Indiana Reentry. So I want to pull our website up real quick, just a web page up here, so that you can see some of these questions are being answered. Of course, we don't know about them because sometimes we're not back like some people are back. But let me say this, and I'm going to submit this humbly. A lot of what's going on in the criminal justice system has affected African American men like you wouldn't believe. And what I'm hurt and disheartened about is that between the ages of 18 and 35, black men are killing each other greater than any group combined. That hurts my heart. And so, as these wonderful, powerful women move into your area of authority, please don't forget your black men, amen, because we need y'all help as you all lead us. But here's our website, Indiana Reentry, okay, because we talked about PACE, but I want our representative to know that we train over 1,300 men out of CCI jail. They got jobs, they got training, and we're excited about that work. And anything involved with reentry with our faith-based community and the pastors that I'm talking to, we want to be the organization to handle the reentry population. Of course, we know 20% of the reentry population throughout the state comes and lives in the 46218 area code. So we need your help and support as you move into your respective places to help us with this organization, because we know there's others that's doing great work. But let's be honest, how many groups you know is being led by African American people? I mean, their board is being led by African American people. And we need African American people not to be afraid to say we can do for ourselves instead of So thank you, man. You may have a seat. We're going to give you guys a quick clip of a movie we have created through our church called Valuable Beyond Measure. It's a way of getting connected to these men and helping them to understand not to pull the trigger, conflict resolution. Let's play that clip, brother.
My name is Tajadine Rowley, and I am the writer and director of Valuable Beyond Measure. Valuable Beyond Measure stresses the importance to recognize how valuable you are, and not just how valuable you are, but how valuable the person that you may be arguing with, that you may have conflict with, that you're thinking about harming, just how valuable that person is. Because one homicide can impact thousands of lives. You know, that person that is taken away due to a homicide, you know, they may be a mother, a brother, a sister, an uncle, a cousin, a friend, a best friend, a confidant. It goes on and on. So this person is attached and touches so many different lives, and taking that one life can impact our community in so many ways. I believe each life that we lose, it takes a little more power out of our community.
Your brother's dead, and this man is dead, and we're facing time for this violent crime. When is enough enough?
Now, Conte, it's not like that. It's not like that. Y'all gonna have to kill me.
Stop every minute of the day. Seems another black body drops. I'm so fed up, Jesus.
So we thank you for your time being with us. This almost concludes our meeting. But we can't conclude without giving our special panelists a gift. So I'd like for, let me see here. I don't want Faye to come right now. Let me see. I want Amber to come. Okay, Amber to come. Now, and she's coming. Oh. Yeah, she's coming. Check this out. We need people like her for public office. Let me say this. James, I was driving down 65 doing 65. I promise, Chapel. I was doing 65. I soon discovered that there's certain places, Monroe Grave, there's certain places on 65 that you can't do 65. I said, what? So they pulled me over. They pulled me over, Mother Representative and Sister Representative. And I said, what you pulled me over for? He said, you was going 65 in the 55 zone. I said, what? He said, yeah, a few miles back, it said 55. I said, well, I'm guilty as charged because I looked when I said, I know it's doing 65. He said, yeah, I'm going to have to write you a ticket. They wrote me a ticket, right? So I went down to the courthouse. I'm thinking it's the most secure place to pay my ticket, Ms. Martin. And I get down there, I pay my ticket. Next thing I know, they tell me from the DMV, your ticket didn't go through. I said, no, wait a minute. I paid at the courthouse. They said, well, we don't care. The courthouse didn't tell us, and now your license is suspended. And you gotta go to some type of claims. $50 to get your scoop. Yeah, all of that. And so I'm thinking, I'm saying, how in the world, living in the 13th largest city in America, that I could pay my ticket and they not get the information? So how many people that are driving around with suspended license because the information didn't get to the DMV in time enough for them? And and then of course, if they pull you over and you got suspended license, you can go to jail on us, Mr. Marlon. I ain't trying to go to jail for no traffic ticket. So all I'm saying is, let's look at people like Amber. I told Amber as soon as I met her, I said, Amber, I need your help because I don't get no ticket. And then next thing you know, they got me on Fox 59 saying the father preached he went to jail because he didn't pay his ticket. Okay? So we need beautiful women like her. She's beautiful. We don't need to So at the end of the day, we need this woman. She's sharp. Her mind is there to care for us. So he gonna take a picture of us so I can show you a little plaque. I told my wife to order a bigger plaque, but she ordered the small one. Okay, thank you. God bless you. Appreciate you. Let's celebrate her. Now you know I got a story for each one of y'all, so I won't call up Faye right now. Come on. Look at this. Now look at this. Soon as Faye said, you know how to get them folk from stop calling you? Do you realize how many times these people be calling me? I'm at work and that scam call come up talking about, do you want to sell your house? I got a confession. Where's the most, okay, who's the reverend? Ain't nobody, okay. They said, do you want to sell your house? Who I need to repent to? I said, I sell my house to your mama. Y'all forget. I got tired of those folks calling me, talking about do they want to sell my, and then finally I said, well, yeah, I sell my house. My house worth about $100,000. I said, give it $250. They said, they can't do it. I said, well, y'all keep trying. When y'all get done, call me back. I was trying to get them not to call me no more. So y'all should need to vote for her just for her to say, yeah, how you can get them people to stop calling you.
No. You can't get them to stop calling. If they try to access your deed, we would notify you and say, hey, there's somebody trying to access your deed. Yes, they gonna call y'all day long. So you better just want jokes for them. They gonna keep calling. Okay. I can't stop that, but if they try to access
at least she can put some blocks on there so we can do something, amen. So let's do this. Let's honor her. Look, we get gentrified. That's a true story. We get gentrified. I see some folk, when I start seeing them riding them helmets and on them bikes and stuff, that people don't look like me. In this neighborhood, I know, wait a minute, there's something going on. But I love them, okay, but that's the truth. So we gotta have good recordings, we gotta make sure we buy property. I'm not ashamed to say we need to buy our own houses and things of that nature. So let's celebrate Faye. Let's get a good picture of her marvelous. Last but not least, she kind of say she gonna keep me in line because sometimes I get too radical, and I have to ask her, "Is this okay, Robin? Is this okay?" And she say, "Yeah, come on, you can say that." You be messing up. I be saying, "Okay," but this woman is a woman that I admire and that I have the utmost respect for because sometimes people misunderstand who you are and what you're trying to do. And you, really me, it's no apologies. I'm not apologetic. I want y'all to help black folk. I see Chinese helping Chinese. I see Mexicans helping Mexicans. So what's wrong with me saying, why I gotta be Malcolm X or Martin Luther King because I say I want to help black people? I want to make sure my kids don't go to jail, my grandkids own something. Why I gotta be such a revolutionary? I don't understand that. That's some good coffee too. Y'all need to get some. I'm feeling pretty good right now. Anyway, let's give our state representative who has informed us for years a round of applause. And I know God's got great things in store for her. Thank you so much. Amen. So thank you guys. Let's celebrate our wonderful candidates. Of course, they say they're going to stick around for any further conversation. Yes, sir. Go ahead, real quick, because time is out.
To the candidates, I hear y'all focus on a lot of things, but one of the key things I want you to stay focused on is evolving, not change. Change we've been dealing with since my mom days and since the 10 years you've been in office, right? But when you evolve, you move people, society, and mindsets forward, and that's our goal. So as you continue to push for evolution, not change.
That's right. Hey, brother, do me a favor, James. Just give your organization so that they will know, the camera will know, let them know, and just a brief about what you're trying to do with your organization real quick.
My organization is called Circle Up Indy. We are huge in economic development. We've been putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into Martindale, Brightwood, and we've been doing it silently. We broke into affordable housing in a way that's never been done before in the state in the Midwest, and you guys will have a huge announcement January 1st and in 2023. We're doing 3D and container home development, and we create affordable housing on a level that's never been done before, scaled in the Indianapolis market. So I hear everybody talking about it, and all the legislators and those in office, well, we did. So come and see us.
Well, last thing for me, we do what is called Liberation Friday, every third Friday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Martin University. It's telling our history. We need to tell our truth. And every third Friday at Martin University, next November 18th from 6 to 8 p.m., the inaugural one is Pat Payne presented, and she took us back to the beginning of our history. If your history starts at slavery, everything since then will be progress. The slavery was a break in our history. So we need to acknowledge that, go back to where we started, and move on to where we need to be. Thank you.
All right, so that's a venue for us to learn from the great, how to come back and, learn from those who know about liberation and also tie into, what's existing. Have I missed somebody? Did I miss you? I didn't miss you. I didn't miss nobody. All right, let us stand. We're going to close out with a word of prayer, if you don't mind. We in the church, so we're going to close out with a word of prayer. And again, let's get a Lord a hand praise for these wonderful candidates. Elected officials, we do thank you. Before you leave, please take a bagel or some fruit or something with you. We don't want that stuff to go to waste, so thank you so very much. Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, we thank you for allowing us to assemble ourselves here today in your name, because you are great and you are greatly to be praised. Lord, we know that you are in charge of the world, and you are certainly in charge of Marion County. And Lord, we pray right now as these candidates go to be elected, that you will be with them, Lord. And even if they get the slot, or if they're already poised to be in the slot, because you know who you will bring up at any given moment to sit in seats of power to make change. So Father, right now we ask, oh God, that your blood will cover us in the name of Jesus. And I pray, God, that we begin to bring down the strongholds, those areas that's stopping us from connecting with one another. Lord, we know there's power in unity. There's power in unity, Lord. And I pray, God, that you would break down every curse of disconnect with us, that we would become passionate about helping one another succeed. Lord, I pray that you pour down that crab in a bucket mentality, that we hurt each other behind closed doors, but we be one that we begin to mend the wounds and help us heal to a point that we're out there fighting your good good faith, Lord, because we know it's in you that we live, move, and have our being. Because of you, Lord, we know that we can face tomorrow. Be with us, oh God, and the rest of this day, oh God, as we leave from this place and not from your presence. It's in Jesus Christ's name we pray. God bless you. And everybody in the heart say amen.
When I was hungry, you fed me. I was thirsty, gave me a drink. Visit me through sickness and imprisonment. You always clothe me. I'll never be a stranger. Community church Indy, where the gospel is shared and lives are saved.